it's really critically important. That there's two things, I think. First of all, I think the sign over there, Austerity UK, shame on you, sums it up very well. We are causing immense damage to so many people who are being literally tortured by our benefit system, the benefits regime. And what you're also doing is offering them some support, help, an arm around the shoulder. And that's what our system, sadly, is leaving so many people desperately in need of. You know, the work capability assessment. Sadly, it was brought in by the former Labor government. It is leaving people in what's really a hideous circle. They do the work capability assessment, they get nil points, they appeal, they win their appeal, and then they just wait for the next brown envelope to come through the door again, and the whole cycle starts all over again. And you know, we all know the cases, the people in comas, the people who have heart attacks. Benefit sanctions are actually hitting hard on people, often when they're absolutely at their most vulnerable. And I was actually in East Midlands at a food bank, and you know, just one of the many cases I've heard about, a single father with 2 children, and the food bank workers all just really remembered him because he was obviously coming in a real state. He went to the cash machine to get the money to buy food for the week, and there was no money there. And then he went down the Jobcentre, and perhaps slightly unusually, they actually admitted, oh yeah, we sanctioned you because you didn't come for an interview, but yeah, it's our fault. We sent the text to the wrong phone number. Don't worry, you'll have the money back in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks' time. And of course that single father ended up down the food bank, clearly in a real state, to the point where they were really worried about him and his mental health. And that's the kind of thing we're doing to some of the most vulnerable people in our community, people with disabilities, people who are really ill. And of course I've just been this morning at a rally for the NHS in Manchester, the People's Assembly Against Austerity. And of course mental health services are being hugely cut back. I've been hearing about how in the Greater Manchester area those services are being cut back. And so people aren't getting health care, aren't getting the help they need. They come here, they're basically tortured, abused, left to suffer. And what you're doing, and it's a huge credit to all of you, is you're helping to pick up the pieces. But you shouldn't have to do that. You mustn't have to do that. And I think, you know, I don't know how many of you were able to make it to the march on... Yay! And wasn't that absolutely amazing and inspiring, and the energy was great. And I think I'm regarding Manchester as going to be like a springboard. So many people are going to be leaving Manchester after these few days, leaping out, energised, determined, enthused, saying we're going to change things. Now, I had an email in my inbox a couple of weeks ago that I think sums this up very well. 2020 is too far away.
Yeah.
We cannot wait until 2020 to get rid of this government. Now, the fact is they've only got the support of 24% of eligible voters, and they only have a majority of 12 in Parliament. And the tide is just so clearly coming our way. We're moving in our direction. So, you know, what you can do, as well as support the people who walk out of that door so desperately needing help, is also really educate and inform people and get everyone really knowing about what's happening and that they can make a difference, make real change. And that's what we've got to do, is build a grassroots movement, a movement that's based on people doing politics, not having politics done to them. Because really the people who work at that door, they're the victim of the politics of the past few decades. You can call it neo-Thatcherism, you can call it neoliberalism, call it what you like. But it is austerity that's made the poor and the disadvantaged, and particularly the young, pay for the greed and the fraud of the bankers. It's the policy that's basically allowed the rich to get richer and the rest of us, and whole communities, whole regions of the country to get poorer. The money just flowed down into London, into the city, and off into tax havens. We've had that politics. It's clearly failed, even in its own terms. And we've got to build something different. So that really, you know, and you're doing it here, that's my message, is not just protest, not just pull down this Tory government, but also build up something new and different. Because we actually really have to have a society in which everyone's needs are catered for, without fear. No worry, no concern. That's what we want. Just imagine it. A society in which we had a universal basic income, a citizen's income, and everyone got an income every week, no risk of sanctions, no concern about no hours on your 0 hours contract, just money being paid every week. Have that security, have that certainty, and then you can then do something productive, useful with your life. Not fill in 40 job applications a week for jobs you know you're never going to get. Not be forced to jump through all those hoops, but do something really useful, and end the hideous, disastrous workfare. There was the famous court case of the woman who was doing work experience in museum in a job that she was wanted to do, and then they dragged her into Poundland. That kind of workfare just has to be resisted, and let's resist the companies, the organisations that are taking workfare people. Let's really fight. Let's build something different, because that really is the hope. We need to build a different kind of society. We need to tackle climate change, and tackling climate change means actually improving everyone's life. If we insulate every home that needs it in Britain, we'd lift 9 out of 10 households out of fuel poverty, create 100,000 good jobs, and cut our carbon emissions. If we invest in good public transport, include public transport, affordable, reliable, runs when and where you want it, then there's also lots of good jobs, driving buses, driving trams. We can build something much better. And I think we've got to balance those two things. Fight what we've got, but really look to build hope, because that's really what people desperately need, is hope. And there is hope simply in the fact that the status quo is not going to continue. Things are not going to stay the same as they are. There will be real change. It's coming, and it's in all of our hands, in all of our power, to make that a positive change. So thank you for everything you do. I'm really pleased to be here. I'm going to hopefully have some time to chat to everyone and hear what you've been doing. But thank you, and well done. Yeah.